Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. India is replete with festivals. Absolutely. And the exotic, colorful celebration of those festivals makes people wonder. But then change is the law of nature. How is it that these festivals have outlived their utility since the festivals are a social thing? And as the society norms change, these festivals need to change. But we are so rigid, so hidebound in our thought that we don't want to change at all. Today happens to be a plethora of festivals, rather at least couple which I'll select today. One is Sharvan Purnima, when the sky is dark and the moon shimmers in the full glory. That is the full moon day. And the last day of the month of Sharma, Sharma is the month of rainy season, is celebrated. This is the day when the people who wear the sacred thread in the Hindus replace it with a new one, calling it Upkarma. As a matter of fact, this is, as per the Purnima calendar, the first day of the new year of the sacred month. And even so much so that our Upanishad, Savetvatra Upanishad, mentions this festival, referring to Shiva as Parampurush, the complete man. And this dedication to Shiva, mentioned in Savetvatra Upanishad, is celebrated practically in all parts of India. Now, why Shiva is important, I'll come to later on. But today, there happens to be another festival called Raksha Bandhan. Bandhan is binding, bondage. Raksha is protection. How can there be protection of bondage? Or bondage of protection, whatever you want to call it. This is the day when the sisters normally tie a thread around the wrist of the brothers. They say is to mark the filial love, the love with the brothers. And in return, brothers give them tokens of money as gifts or ornaments or whatever they can afford, and a implicit promise to give them the protection. There are two festivals of women which really fill me with amusement in this era. One is this, when the sisters seek protection, the same sisters who want equality, the same sisters who want no gender discrimination, the same sisters who say we are equal, then why do they need a protection? And from whom do they need a protection? The whole thing smacks of adherence to the age old mores without any thought. And you must be wondering, I refer to two festivals. The other festival is Karva Chauth in India, where women fast for the whole day, eat early in the morning all the things they can lay on, and then eat in the late in the evening when the sun rises. These two festivals are dedicated, one to the husbands, other to the brothers, but to the menfolk. And in the era of Me Too, in the era of gender non-discrimination and equality, in the era when we talk of women empowerment, the celebration of these two festivals is a contradiction in terms. How can you empower women, those women who in one festival consider themselves to be chattels or inferior partners at the most, who fast for the long life of the husband, whereas husbands have never taken a fast for the long life of their wives? What an anomaly. The second one, Raksha Bandhan, when the sisters either expect gifts, a materialistic attitude, or protection from whom? From the husband, from the in laws, from the society as a whole. The thing is just left in obscurity. But the whole thing, as I said earlier, strikes to me to be absolutely incomprehensible. I can understand the celebration of Shravan Purnima because that is a celebration of Lord Shiva, who is an embodiment of complete man, Param Purush. Not only complete, but the first man. Eko hi Rudra Nadvetru Tastu. The man, the knower, the no Brahm, the real Brahm, the fountainhead of creation and also at times destruction when he indulges into Tandav Nitra, the dance of death. That I can understand. But the celebration of Raksha Bandhan and then the stories associated with it, that Rani Karnavati sent a Rakhi to, or what they call it, the threat to Humayun to seek his help. On the one side, they say that they were absolutely deadly against the Muslim invaders, and then they are seeking help. So, shouldn't Rani Karnavati be criticized for seeking the help of an enemy, thereby subjecting herself and her coming generations under the obligation to the Mughal Empire? The whole thing smacks of absolute obscurity. But the worst thing is, as I said earlier, this is a negation of women empowerment. The SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, have one of the goals as women upliftment, empowerment. You cannot empower people if the people themselves consider themselves as the lower rung of society. The day the untouchables realized through Ambedkar that they are not inferior beings, the day the slaves were emancipated, freed, that was the day of their rising. Agreed, it took a long time, but here we are celebrating the disempowerment of women. And it's not we, I shouldn't say, it's women whom themselves are crazy about celebrating these two festivals. As are crazy about wearing ornaments which denote slavery. If I tell you some of the backgrounds of these ornaments, I hope you won't be shocked. There's a ornament called pile in India. Pile is wound round the feet near the ankle. Now this is symbolic of a chain. They tie animals by the legs to a stake so that the animal cannot run away. So this pile is basically an amendment of that iron chain with a gold chain. The necklaces are the chains worn round the neck by the prisoners. Bangles are representative of the handcuffs that are slapped on the criminals. So all these are basically instruments of enslavement. And incidentally, nose ring. Nose ring is also, in Hindi they call it nakel, basically to enslave. So, and women celebrate that. I'm amazed. They marvel. They seek enjoyment in showing off their signs of slavery and in celebrating those festivals which denote their inferior status socially and also in the family circle. The only thing what the men have done, the devious as they are, the cunning as they have built a halo around these festivals, showing that they are great. Reality, means of oppression. So should you not change these festivals? Think about it. Now, I refer to the other festival which I think is worthwhile, that is Sharman Purnima. And that, as I said, is celebrated in honor of Shiva. Shiva, who is positioned at the heart of the sun, the supreme teacher, Dakshinamurti, who inspires devotees and is a great yogi lost in penance and also a wonderful householder. Tradition sees him as a wonderful symbol of prime cause waking up from the deep meditative stupor to initiate creation by becoming a householder. He still remains Adi Yogi, untouched by Maya, duty bound in his empirical word by the laws he himself has set down, the self creator, yet out of this world like lotus. He's a great dancer, Nataraja at Chidambaram, whose Tandava has inspired Indian classical dance, and who came from a different dimension of the cosmos to set up and organize living on the earth. He is Asutosh, easily pleased, yet distant in his meditation. The Indus hill of Pashupati, have you seen that? Shows a Shiva like yogi surrounded by animals. The yogi is shown to be compassionate to all beings, reminding man to maintain nature's equilibrium. So his relevance is much more pertinent today because he believes in biodiversity. He is a symbol of the nature unpolluted, pure, unsullied, and a celebration of biodiversity and a balance between material, spiritual life. As a matter of fact, all Shiva philosophical traditions set him at the center of the matrix of being and becoming. Whether it's a Trikha tradition of Kashmir, that external world is seen as the reflection of Shiva. And then the divine plays Shiva through his Shakti. Shiva is himself able to recognize his universal consciousness. Otherwise, there's nothing to ignore about. Consciousness is already there, but he recognizes it. So, Shiva and his creation, Shakti, power, are actually identical. So, the manifest Shiva is a celebration of life, celebration of biodiversity, celebration of nature, and celebration of our existence. So, I can understand that festival and the relevance of that festival. And would you believe that festival is not celebrated in as large a number as Raksha Bandhan is, the sign of disempowerment of women? Now, we have got to think whether we are continue to be mired in the tradition and are unable to think in modern terms, Do we want the dichotomy between our social norms existing today and the social norm that existed a few centuries back to continue? Is that tradition to be a stumbling block in the emancipation of this vulnerable section of society, which is almost 50% of the total human race? If you want to change, if you really want to empower women, and especially women, if you want to empower yourself, it's time that you leave these hidebound festivals that demean you, that place you at the foot of the pedestal, that puts you at the mercy of the menfolk, and celebrate festivals of equality, festivals of life, rather than being tied down, chained to the traditional ones, which have no relevance and in fact have a negative impact on your being. Think about it. Thank you.